Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the More People Podcast. Today is a very special edition. First of all, you've got me as your host, Guy Moreton. I'm the co-founder of More People. And today I have my other co-founder as a special guest as part of our 25th year anniversary celebrations, Peter Hunt. Mate, it's great to see you again.
And you? Good to be back.
And really, because you retired 3 years ago now, I think it was, Pete?
Yeah, 3.5 years ago.
3.5 years ago. But I wanted some of the people that perhaps don't know about our early days. Could you start by telling us a little bit about you pre-meeting me? I know that was a momentous day in your life. Potentially what brought us together, I suppose.
Before my epiphany. Yeah. Our background, I'm an accountant by training, and I sort of generally spend my time in the food industry. So, sunny Lincolnshire came here because of chickens. Really, Padley's originally in the chicken business, but then worked through and qualified as an accountant, and ended up working with like most people that come in this area, the good old geese in the good old days. And then you and I came together at Redbridge. I was the FD of the division, and you were the MD.
I was indeed. We tried to revolutionise the cut flour industry for a year or so, didn't we?
Yeah, amongst other things.
And then as some people know, you and I decided that we liked each other. We'll talk a bit more about that later. And that we got on really well, and we wanted to try a hand at working outside of the corporate beast and have a go ourselves. And we left, didn't we, and set up Huntmore Limited, our overall company business. But before we did More People, we did a few other things, didn't we?
Yeah, I think when we were within the Redbridge organisation, that was a sort of a buy and build sort of strategy. And so we looked at a few businesses, and we sort of, when we find ourselves working together with our complementary skills, maybe the financial, the sort of sales, it was a case of there are a few unfinished things to do. Can we look around? What can we do? Surely we used to sort of travel to from our homes and see all these factories out there saying, surely we could do something. And so, we looked at different things with our core skills, consultancy work, that sort of thing. And I think one of the things we sort of came across was because of your background briefly within recruitment, and how it was that an area to look at. And then I think we were doing a bit of consultancy here and there. And then one of our clients asked you, Guy, you did recruitment, can you find me this sort of person? And I think that was the sort of the sort of little nugget that we sort of went on to, and then thought, if let's see, this is a niche here. There's lots of generalists out there. There's a few specialists, but no real specialists that have got any industry background like we had.
Well, that's absolutely right. When we started, you're quite right. There were a few big recruiters and a few small recruiters in our sector, but we wanted to try and be different, didn't we? I think we'd spotted a niche in the market for a business that I think what people were telling us was that they didn't like recruiters that didn't know anything about the positions that they were recruiting for.
There were firms that specialised in the sectors, but the individuals within those were recruiters. They weren't necessarily, I can't think of any real examples that were from the industry that applied that knowledge into the recruitment side of it. And I think that was our point of difference to begin with. The challenge then was for us to prove that we weren't just people who could chat about the industry all day. We'd actually do a job and provide the service.
So tell us a bit more about what the early years were like, a bit further on. I mean, because we after 2 years, we employed our first person, didn't we? And
I think after sort of 9 months, 12 months, we decided that we had to focus on one thing, and recruitment was the thing. So we did that. And then, as you say, we got to the point where we felt sufficient resilience and confidence to sort of take somebody on. And that's what brought us to Stamford initially, really, in our first little office.
To a certain extent, when did we realise that we had something special and something different and something that would work?
I think you sort of know that you're going to get somewhere after about 4 or 5 years. And I remember I had a bit of a tangent. I had an accident in the car, and the guy bringing me back was chatting about, he said, in the recovery business, and we just chatting about what we did and all that sort of stuff. And he said, you got to go. I remember it took us 5 or 6 years before we got going. And until you've actually got lots of more new business coming in, that overtakes your previous business. That's when you've got a business. And I suppose it was, it's 4 or 5 years. And that's when we took our first lease car.
Yes, it was
6, 7 years. And that's, I suppose, sit back and think, well, actually, we've got something here that's not just Pete and Guy, or Guy and Pete, and it's a case of we've got a business.
We've said, haven't we, to people when they're starting out in business that I think you and I have said to one or two people that they should write a list of everybody that said that they'll deal with them.
Yes.
Screw it up, chuck it in the bin, and then draw up a business plan that revolves around the product and their capacity to sell whatever it is, rather than what mates say that they will buy. We knew we'd made it when we had a whole host of clients that we'd never heard of pre you and I starting out as more people. And hopefully then you do a great job and they keep coming back.
Yeah, I think for lots of businesses, keeping it real and selling is a key important. And I think a lot of businesses, people can be a bit sniffy about selling, but if you a small business, if you can't sell, you won't survive.
I certainly, when I worked with you before, when we first knew each other, we straight away clicked in terms of you're really good at what you do and you respect these capability I've got, and vice versa. So I think we work really well together. Loads of people have asked me to ask you, however, what it was really like working with Guy Moreton. So I don't want to dwell too much on that, but you might want to the camera, answer those people that can't believe that you did 21 years, quite frankly.
Well, again, I think entertaining is probably a broad enough term. But I think, like most things, we used to joke, didn't we, occasionally, that you have 100 ideas and I'd tell you why 99 wouldn't work. And you see lots of people start out with their mates and their friends, which is always fraught with danger, because you never know if you've got the business skills or not. But also, if you really are close friends, you have to make tough decisions sometimes and you fall out. That's not great, is it? But I think the key thing is to have sort of a mutual respect and trust. I think without that trust, you're not going to get anywhere, because quite often we've come across lots of people in the last
100 times,
20, 30 years before and since, that where you see people fall out because someone's doing a bit sneaky at the side or someone's doing different. Again, we kept it clear that it wasn't going to be a family business, it was going to be a business, and we were going to treat it like business. We come from business, we respected our own skills, and that's what we sort of carried forward. And whoever we brought in, we maintained that they would have the same sort of beliefs and systems.
In principle, what we wanted was to enjoy working for ourselves and enjoy working with clients and candidates. And that I think the point made, if you can't build a relationship with somebody that you trust, you don't have to like everybody, but I think you have to respect people that you're dealing with and want to help. And that's what we've always tried to do at MorePeople, isn't it? We've
you have to be
about helping.
You have to be realistic and look at the set skills you've got. And you've talked about succession in these podcasts before, but you've got to look forward and say, what have I got here? Who can do what? Have a team that works together. And again, a team of all ages. We some of the guys that we brought in, experienced business. I'm still friendly with them now, because they're in the 70s now. There were experienced people that came in, but they had networks and they dealt with people home and abroad that they knew. And so again, you sort of look at things that help build that brand and that resilience.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about, you mentioned succession there, which is good, because one of the questions a bit further down, so I've had to jump to it, that I had in my list was about succession, and that and you very nicely mentioned, which is important, that we always set out to have a business.
Yes.
It wasn't a lifestyle thing. We had a plan to grow it and exit at some point. And therefore, ages ago, and we talk constantly to businesses, as you know, about succession and the fact that still lots and lots of businesses don't have any plan whatsoever. But I'm very proud of the fact that you and I had a plan, blimey, 15, 20 years ago, of our 25, that we needed to look at the next generation at some point as we developed, and hence we bumped into young Mr. Fitzmaurice 15 years ago now, I think it was. And that's quite interesting, because at the time, everybody in our business that was a recruiter had a background in the sector. We sold ourselves really hard at that point. That was our major differential. And I remember you coming back from holiday and you trying to persuade me to see this, I can't say the words because they definitely will get cut, a full-time professional recruiter from London that had never actually worked in a proper industry, and me not necessarily wanting to meet said professional recruiter that hadn't ever worked in a proper industry. And let's be honest, he's not in the room right now, but it was the best business decision, other than going into business with you. The best business decision that I've ever made was listening to you and taking on Mr. Fitzmaurice. But that was important, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we always had a plan. That plan might have got revised several times. I think our original plan was to retire at 50. I think
it was actually.
I think, but then the things come along. The 2008 recession come along. You go up and down. But I think we were proud that we had a resilient business, and that's another key word. I think when you're in business, you have to be held resilient, because you never know what's going to come along. Everyone's talking about tariffs and things like that. You never know what's around the corner, do you? So you have to have that. And I think we got to the point where I think we did a bit of a plateau. There's a bit of self-interest, of course. older than you. Hard to tell, I know.
I know.
But yeah, I'm older than you, 5 years older than you.
Yeah.
So therefore, my
Thanks.
priority is going to retire before you, etc. So how to replace my skill set or things like that. But also, we'd got to a point, I think, we'd got a bit of a ceiling on turnover. We kept getting the top coming back down again, hitting the same level. We needed some else on top. And we'd got the core base of experience and industry skills. And I suppose we were still missing maybe a little X ingredient, was the extra recruitment verb. You got the salesman side of it, you got that, but I suppose Andrew came along, he was looking to move this area, and I said, well, what got to lose? We've said it before, we have recruitment people that people say, I can't go there, I'm not this, I'm that. We said, we'll just go and talk to people. And I think we have to take a bit of our own advice now. We're forever telling clients and candidates, meet someone, what's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely.
So we have to pursue you to take a bit of our own advice. Meet the guy. It on paper looks good. You never know.
No,
he's from Lancashire.
Yeah,
I'm from Yorkshire. But even so, we can live with that.
We did live with that, didn't we? And we did take him on. What I did want to talk to you about, because as you know, more people are very active in recruiting non-exec directors for clients, and we're trying to promote and develop that side of the business. And we've had a non-exec since 2005. Is it when we first appointed Michael?
Yeah, well, again, we're trying to do what we said in the tin, walk the talk. We thought we were good ideas. We chatted to them with the HSBC at the time. We didn't help with them because they couldn't find people. They had an issue with persuading family businesses in particular to take on external voices and expertise. And so we thought, if we're going to look at this and recommend it to people, we better do it ourselves. And Michael came, a lovely man, Michael Pass came along, and he provided that sort of early sort of needs of, especially mentoring you in particular, but also giving us that external advice, having a third party in the room to sort of keep us back on track, etc. And then latterly,
he was certainly a critical friend, wasn't he?
Yes. And then latterly at the end, just in the last couple of years I was involved, we brought on James Ash, which again through Andrew's connections, there was more on the recruitment focus for that next sort of quantum shift to focus on those sort of things with the skill set that he has, which has then helped you develop and bring the business on in the form it has done in the last couple of years.
Finishing off, really, you were a co-founder with me. We've created an amazing business. What are you most proud of?
That it's still here, that we created the right foundations, really. I mean, you've done just so much, and we kept it. 2008 wasn't great for a lot of people, was it? But I think again, we remember going to events and things in sort of the middle of 2008, everyone's saying the world's going to end, and a lot of our clients were saying, well, it's been really tough the first 6 months, but then you realise we're dealing in retail sector, dealing with supermarkets, it's always tough. It's just a different sort of tough. And I suppose that was a lesson learned. We sort of came back from that, and it really has been positive ever since then. And I think just be able to sort of create those foundations, and just, let's say, bringing Andrew in, keep creating that sort of environment that the business can grow, and nothing more than that, really. What else can you say?
Look at what we achieved, mate.
Yeah, look at what it's going to go. It'll continue to grow.
The next generation is in the business with Andy and Rich and the team, and it'll be me next, and maybe I'll grow a beard like you. I knew you were on your wind down when you started to grow that. Dear. Was that? But mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a pleasure knowing you in the last 26, 27 years. You're a mate, and you'll always be a mate. And thank you for everything.
Thank you. Good mate. Get the tissues out.
Yeah, absolutely.